This is But the Years Are Short, the podcast where mamas who are therapists share real advice for real families. I'm Meagan.
And I'm Katie. And we want to be your front porch community where you can laugh and learn with us about the beautiful, messy, overwhelming, hilarious work of raising kids.
Because the days are long,
but the years are short.
Okay, Katie.
Yeah.
We're talking about when kids are mean to us today in the things, right?
Yeah.
And so, I gotta tell a story of Friday night. So Friday night, my daughter, they're going to see Wicked, like their whole choir, but it's like after school, right? So it's like you have to pay and you have to take them and all the things, which was totally fine. I was all for it. And so one of her good friends wanted to go with her, and I was like, I'll just pick y'all up from school, and then you guys can hang out, and I'll drop you off, and then we'll get you home. And so we're totally fine. And my daughter is like a very sweet kiddo from this part. She's super spicy, but she's like very sweet to me. So she gets in the car and I say, hey friend, hey sister, how's it going? And she goes, can you believe she talks to me like this? Like saying this to a friend. And I was like, what? And so then, as we continue the thing, she like has these little snipes. This whole time we're going, it just like, I felt I'm like, a mom that's like too involved or too it's like it's all over the place. It doesn't even make sense. There's not even like a common theme. She's just taking shots at me. And so finally
rude.
Yeah, rude. And so finally I was like, you're being so rude. And she goes, I am not. Am I being rude? She asked her friend, and her friend's like, yeah.
Nice.
What are you doing, goober? And so then we drop her friend off at the end of the night, and I was like, why are you being so mean to me?
Nice.
Said, you don't ever talk to her like that. Like, what's going on? And she's like, I don't even know, Mom. I just was a little nervous. She's never come to the house. And I was like, okay, I get that. But, like, how rude.
Don't pick on me.
Don't pick on me. So anyway, this is kind of like straight up to what we're talking about. I was like, this was a silly version, and I didn't get too upset other than it was just like so weird because it was out of her character. But sometimes our kids can be super, super mean to us.
Yes. No, I totally agree. This was so funny when we decided to do this one because some days, so you asked me last week if we wanted to do this one, and I was like, no, I can't do it this week. Because it was like so emotional because the week was hard. And I was like feeling too, like I'd had a couple of moments where my kids I was feeling rejected by my children.
Yeah.
And this week is good. So, this is so funny. And by funny, I mean like it's not funny. But my primary coping skill is to make things funny.
It's hilarious.
I know.
All right, so let's talk through this of like very different. So when we ask the question, Katie, like when our kids are mean, like what, for you personally, what does that look like? How would you describe when your kiddos are mean?
Okay. So this is really interesting because I think that like when our kids are mean, like quote unquote mean, right? I think that like what feels mean to me is going to be different than what feels mean to you, right? Like, so, and I think that comes from our stuff. Right?
Yeah.
Like, so everybody has a different thing that's going to make them feel hurt, you know? And so for me, it's like when my kids when I like reach out in a way to connect with them and then they shut it down. Or if I try to spend time with them and they shut it down, that feels like quote unquote mean, but it's not really. And, you know, frankly, particularly because of the ages that they are, their job is to individuate or like become their own people and, you know, spend more time with their friends or connecting with their friends through their games or online or whatever. But, so I have a funny one, right? So my 13-year-old has been very against, like up until this point, this moment in life has been super against like makeup or nails or like anything indicating that she cares at all about like girly things, right? And so just this last like 2 weeks, she has started wearing makeup. But what this, yeah, but what this means is that she's just putting like 2 pounds of glitter onto onto her eyelids, right? Which honestly,
she's rocking it.
She's killing it. But it like reminds me of like 6th grade or 7th grade when we had these. Do you remember like the jelly?
Yes.
Goop of glitter that we would just like get a like scoop of it and like smear it around.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's sort of what it looks like. And so I have been like, okay, how do I help with let's be exciting and sparkly and also let people see your face. And so
yes,
I like very carefully and gently was like, hey babe, what if we play with makeup together? And she's like, no thanks.
That's a good try though, for real.
I know. I did it all week. I did it like 3 or 4 times.
All week? Every day. Do you want to play makeup? Should we do makeup together? She was like, what is going on, Mom?
What's wrong with you? And so she finally was like, I like how it looks. And I was like, me too. Also, what if we figured out how to do it in a different way that looked a little bit more like your age? And
yes. And not like you're going to a concert or a rave.
That's what I could get her some glow sticks.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So anyway, so finally I think it was like Friday and I had said it a couple of times and she just was like, I don't want to do makeup with you. And I had like a really long week of like all kinds of like emotionally challenging things.
Yes.
And I just was like, fine, I don't want to hang out with you anyway, is what I said out loud to my 13-year-old.
Oh my gosh, that is the best. I want to know what she did.
She goes, oh, Mom, and like reached out to try to like give me a hug. And I was like, no, I don't want a hug. Get out of here. I don't want you in my room anyway.
Best.
Oh my God. And so she's laughing. I was laughing. But also I was like, you hurt my feelings. Get out of here. And so she was like, we can do makeup tomorrow if we can listen to Taylor Swift while we do it. And I was like, we can definitely do that. And so then I circled back later and I was like, I do just want to hang out with you. And I think it would be fun. And I don't suck at makeup, right? I've been doing it for 23 years. So
yes,
it will be fun. Like we can watch some YouTube videos, we can get some ideas, and it'll be fun.
Was it fun?
It was super fun. It was super fun.
Good.
I have some cute pictures from it, but anyway, I think sometimes in the moments, right, we have these like, I'm hurt and I like have, and I don't know exactly why, and I say a thing. And so, you know, we don't, like, you and I do this for a living, and still I get my feelings hurt and I have a reaction, and it's not beautifully handled. And so I just thought that whole thing was ridiculous and so funny. This is so dumb. I don't want to hang out with you anyway.
I love it. That is awesome.
So silly.
We do say the things, right? And we do the things.
But I think if we circle back to like, so I mentioned to you before we got started with recording, like, the things that hurt my feelings are like, my kids don't want to hang out with me. Or they don't want to spend, like, when that's the thing that hurts my feelings. And your response was like what it, like, does that not, that doesn't do it for me.
That doesn't hit for me. I don't know why. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Go do the thing. In my head, I'm like, okay, get alone time, which, you know, but I don't know. It doesn't bother me as much. The thing that bothers me is when they're mean with their words, right?
Oh, yeah.
So like the I don't love you, or like when they're little, or like I want to live someplace else. You're the worst mama ever, right? Those things did and still do bother. They don't say those. They're bigger now. So what it looks like now is like you're a therapist. like when they're mad at me and we're having an argument, like, you should do better at this because you're a therapist. Are you even good at your job? Like, those are the things that they say now because they're teenage. And it does hurt. And I'm like, you stinker, you have no idea.
Yeah, right. What do you say when that happens?
I do say that. I say, like, you have no idea. Like, just, and I'm human. I do say those things. Let's try to see. I'm pretty good at just, like, I've been working on the journey of learning and experiencing my feelings. And so I say that because, like, in the heat of the moments, I'm pretty good at just, like, shutting down and, like, we're just going to make our way through that. So it takes a lot for me to, like, explode. And so often I'm just like, no, we're done. We're done. Like, when we get to the point of, like, they've actually hurt my feelings. And so it looks like, thank you for sharing. When you can be kind, I will come back. And I, like, walk away. And I will say, you have hurt my feelings. Because at that point, they know. Good. My kids know what buttons to push. And so now you're a therapist, or are you even good at your job? That doesn't bother me as much because they've worked that one too much now. But words are the ones that really bother me. And that hurts for me when my kids are, when that's what it looks like at my house when I think of my kids being mean.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So, I mean, I think what I'm hearing from you, right, is like take a minute or over time, right? So, like, we notice patterns. And the thing I heard from you in the beginning, right? So, your kiddo is really sweet as a typical, like, personality trait.
Yes.
And so we have moments sometimes that are hard and that create conflict. And that hurt our feelings. And I think that's sort of like, if we think about relationships in general, I mean, that's relationships in general, right? Like, most of the time,
100%.
Most of the time, they're wonderful and workable, and occasionally we hurt each other. And so, what do you think makes it different with our kids? Like, how do we have to handle it differently? And let's start there. Like, how do we have to handle it differently than relationships with other adults?
One, I think we got to recognize that they're just kids, right? That, like we say all the time, is like they're still growing, they're learning, they don't have the emotional capacity to hold some of these things when they get big, right? They're still learning how to do that. And so I think, one, like, stepping back and recognizing, like, they're just kiddos, and two, it is actually my job to help them, right? Like, so, Katie, if you and I get in a fight, like, or have conflict, it is not my job to regulate you, right?
Yeah.
It is not my job to be like, okay, Katie, let's practice. Like, that's not my job. But with my kids, it is my job. And that doesn't mean that I, like, let them be mean to me, right? But it is if and when they are mean, then I get to set limits and recognize, like, they're doing this for a reason, right? So, like, my kiddo, when I share the story, she was nervous and overwhelmed and trying to figure out how to navigate this place and be the cool kid, right? And so I get to say, like, you're being rude, like, stop. But I don't get to, like, yell at her and scream at her. I have to recognize, like, what is she doing is important. I tell this to parents, and I think it's true, but, like, we are their safe space. So a lot of times they're mean to us because they're holding all the stuff from the world outside. And they can't say the things or do the things. And not that we should let our kids do. That's not what I'm saying. I really want that to be heard. Like, I don't think our kids should scream at us. I don't think our kids... But, like, when they do, it's our job to help regulate them. And we should expect it. I don't know, Katie, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that if we are looking at it from, like, a developmental perspective, right? So totally agree about they're holding it together all day, trying to navigate social interactions that are confusing and hard, and, like, sometimes backfire on them, and they don't know what to do with that, and all those pieces, right? And then they get home with us and they know that we're not going anywhere, hopefully, right? Like, if they have kind of secure attachment, then they know that we're not going anywhere. And that's some language we'll get into, soon, but not today. So if they know that we're not going anywhere, it's safer for them to sort of let out their rough edges with us. And so it is our job to say, hey, all right, that didn't feel great. What's happening? Right? So just like what you did, right? So my story became more about how I didn't manage my feelings of rejection well. But I think too, right, we all have those moments, like maybe with the littles, when they are mad because we don't have the right kind of peanut butter or the right kind of bread, or we put it on the wrong color plate, or 2 + 2 doesn't equal 5. And so they scream at us or whatever. So, and our job is to hold the peace and the calm while they get through whatever their upset is.
Yeah.
Because we're modeling for them what it looks like to try to stay calm. So there's 2 jobs, right? It's like show them what it looks like to have boundaries and stay calm. And then as they get older, when you feel hurt and you don't respond beautifully, or you have your own kind of fit, as in my case, explain later, here's what happened, here's how I was feeling. That's not about you. I apologize.
Yeah.
And here's where I was coming from, and it's not your fault. That's on me. Right?
Yeah.
So we're in relationships with another adult, right? We're co-regulating.
Yes.
So, and it's not our kids' job to co-regulate with us. That's like putting too much pressure on them. So, I think if we look at like how parents can hold their own hurt without reacting in the moment, right? So this is the thing that in that moment I didn't do beautifully. So I think maybe thinking about things that impact that, right? So if we know that here's some things that make it hard to manage your own self while you're having hard interactions with your kids. And they're like, I mean, if we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right?
Yeah.
So for those of us who aren't super familiar with it, right? The bottom is like, do I have somewhere to be comfortable to sleep and live, right? And then and eat, right? Then
think of basic needs.
Exactly.
Basic physical needs.
So I know that I'm not going to function super well if I haven't been eating well, if I haven't had enough water, if I'm not sleeping well. I'm not going to respond real well to emotionally challenging situations. On top of that, if I'm feeling emotionally depleted about other things, I'm not going to respond well to my kids when they are needy or when they are accidentally hurtful or intentionally hurtful. You know what I mean? Like if I'm feeling isolated or stressed or lonely or sad or whatever, right? And so there's like a lot of stuff going on in life and I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm just like, it's like pouring from an empty cup.
Yeah.
Right. So managing kind of those pieces well as often as possible is really helpful for when you're functioning as a parent. So what about with kids? So how can we help them be as level as possible, as often as possible, so that we don't get to these like either kind of meltdown moments, or so that, you know, when they're saying things like, I hate you, I don't want to live here, you're a terrible parent, right? Which we know happen, but if we can make them less frequent, what do you think?
I think, yes. I think recognizing our kiddos are human, right? So if it's, especially when, or all of us, right? Like if they haven't eaten, if they haven't slept, if they've had a really long day at school and been there all the hours, right? Or had a hard day at school, like those are going to be things that they're going to be more on edge for 100%. And so being able to be aware of those things can help us give some grace in those places, and it sets us up for, I think the thing that can be hard as a parent when we do feel like our kids are being mean, it can feel so personal.
Yeah.
Right? So like when my teenagers say to me like, hey, are you even good at your job? Like that, let me tell y'all, first 3 or 4 times I heard it, it really freaking hurt.
Yeah.
And it felt really, really personal. And yes, they intended, but in the reality, it actually isn't about me.
Yeah.
It's about them, right? And so like being able to not take those things personally, I think makes a huge, huge difference as a parent, as we set ourselves up for that, right? They're kiddos. I know for a fact, like the 3 times that it really hurt, if I'm thinking back, and it's 2 of the 3 that are saying that. If I'm thinking back, like those kiddos were really dysregulated at that time. They'd had really hard times with their friends. They were feeling lots of big feelings. They were feeling a lot of out of control. And so when I had an expectation for them that they didn't feel like they could meet, they lashed out. And they were mean and said things. But it really wasn't about me. It had nothing. I was just the punching bag at that time. And that's not to say that I get to be that. Like, I get to set boundaries. But if I can recognize, like, you are just having a really hard moment and I happen to be the person in front of you and you know exactly what to say that stings, then I can step back and say, like, hey, I know we use ACT. I still use ACT. I use ACT for everyone. I know you're really angry. I am not for saying mean things too. You can try again. You can take a break. You can ask me to take a break. But, like, we're not going to say mean things. Like, so, like, if we can recognize, like, it isn't as personal as we, like, believe it is sometimes in those moments.
Yeah. Absolutely. I have a couple of funny ones, right, that are, like, so I tuck my daughter into bed, and, well, I mean, duh. But sometimes I, like, get down in the bed with her. And her bed is, like, on the floor, right? She wanted a bed that was, like, on the floor. So it has, like, whatever. It's got, like, a setup. And it's not just a mattress on the floor. I don't want people to think my kids live in poverty. Anyway. So I was, like, laying down in her bed with her. And she's like, Mommy, I can see your scalp.
What every woman wants to hear.
Yeah.
At 9 p.m. at night.
My luxurious locks are no more. Right? And she was like, you know, my hair is much thicker than your hair. I'm like, yeah, that's true. Thank you very much for that. That's good. That's good. She's like, you know, there are commercials about how you can take a pill and makes your hair thicker. I'm like, that's, you know,
look at her problem solving.
I have seen those. Thank you so much for the advice. That's good. That's great. So, you know, I think and we've all heard kids say, like, the most hilarious and hurtful things.
Yes.
And I just want everybody to know, you don't have to stop enjoying those when they stop being toddlers. They just keep coming.
They keep coming.
I just want you to know you get to enjoy that for many years.
I'm going to pause. Like, her perspective was not like, I'm going to embarrass Mom. Her perspective was like, look, I noticed something. I'm going to help you solve the problem.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's important, too. Sometimes we are like, oh, it's so mean. They are mean. Right?
But no.
Kids' perspectives, that's not it at all most of the time.
Yeah, that one was awesome.
Yeah.
That one was awesome.
That is awesome.
So let's talk about repairing after a challenging interaction. Right. Where do we start, Megan? Like, where do we start? After we know, like, ugh, that did not feel good. That did not feel good.
Yeah. I think we start once we're calm, right? So if I'm not, like, all the way calm, and I'm like, okay, if I'm, like, still, I would do scales 1 to 10, right? But if I'm still, like, at a 5 or 6, and I'm going to walk back into that kid's room, and they are still at a 6 or 7, it is not, we're going to have to do another repair, right? Like, so recognizing, like, I have to be calm, I have to be in control, I have to be ready, and I would encourage parents, like, do your thing pretty quickly, right? To recognize kind of where you're at, to do that. And then we can re-engage with our kiddos. And sometimes, like, that may be that night, that afternoon, great. Right? Sometimes it may be the next morning. I'm going to say, like, if it's the next morning that we're going to repair that intentional conversation, like, it doesn't mean I'm icing my kid out all night. Like, we're not doing that. I think part of the thing is often the things that hurt us the most are because of pieces of ourselves, right? Things that happen, like we said before. And I think we talk a lot about, like, our inner child, right? And so, like, when we are wounded and when it really hurts, like, we revert back to whatever that, like, inner child's age is. And so, like, recognizing if my kid is a 14-year-old, acting like a 14-year-old, and he hurt my 14-year-old, I got to wrap up so that my 14-year-old is going to ignore him all night, right? As long as the world is long. But I got to be the parent. And so, like, if I'm not okay to return to that conversation that hurt me, that's fine. But I still have to be the grown woman that takes care of my kid and does the things throughout the night.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting balance between, like, not icing your kids out, but taking the space to settle your nervous system.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so how do we do that, right? Communicate, like, I'm taking space, but I'm not trying to hurt you, right? Like, I'm not ignoring you. How do we do that?
I think my first thought is, like, I'm still gonna do the world around. I'm just gonna put the limit around that conversation, right? So if, like, my kid was mean to me and mad at me based on a conversation about their phone or going out with friends, I'm going to say to them very clearly, as a live conversation, right? Like, he's in the kitchen and he wants to talk about it. I'm going to say, hey, I cannot have this conversation with you. We are not having this conversation. I can talk to you about school. I can talk to you about X. I can talk to you about, but I'm not having that conversation. And I think putting really, really clear limits and boundaries around that is going to be super important. Yeah. Because there is a whole world that I can engage with him about that'll help me kind of, like, calm and regulate. That doesn't have to do with whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Katie?
Yeah, that's really good. I think the thing that is the trick is not then stomping around and being cold while you're doing those interactions, right? Which either stomping around and being cold or being snippy or punishing with your tone in some manner, which can be challenging, or withdrawn, right? So it's like, it's that fight or flight, right, that we do when we feel threatened or upset or hurt or whatever, right? So it's either like, I'm still irritated and hurt, and so I'm either going to be really obviously irritated in everything about my body, my voice, my tone, my body
posture,
my body language, exactly. The way that I close the cabinets, the way that my keys hit the kitchen table, because you are still punishing the whole house, and that's not fair to anyone else, right? Or the flight component, which is like, I'm going to completely withdraw and say nothing to anybody. Which is a different way of kind of trying to handle it, but it also communicates to your kids accidentally that you will withdraw your affection, your attention, your nurturing, your presence if they don't behave a certain way, which is equally damaging. And so the balance there is, I'm not going anywhere, but I can't talk about this anymore. And will we mess it up sometimes? 100%. 100%. And that's okay. It just is a matter of, like, circle back, explain what happened, and fix it. And I think I completely agree about, like, settle yourself, but I would say do that as quickly as you can. Because I think leaving our kids in the unknown, in that, like, kind of purgatory of, are they mad? Are they withdrawing from me? Are they going to yell at me? Are they going to punish me? And in that nervous system space is extremely uncomfortable. And so I think like if you can get yourself settled, do what you need to do in order to do that, and then go and repair, it is super healthy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Would you add anything to that?
No, I agree. I think that unknown, kids will fill in their own meaning and story within that unknown. And oftentimes it's like, where did you come up with that, right? Because they just have limited experience and huge imaginations, and that's okay. But if we can be super intentional about like regulating ourselves, returning to those conversations, and I think returning to those conversations with like, hey, your words hurt. Tell me what's going on. Like, I don't want to be your punching bag. I want to help you. My job is to help you. But that really hurt me, or your actions really hurt me. And having some of those conversations is helpful and important.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so our last reminders, right, for parents during mean moments.
Yeah.
All right, so my takeaway, I think, is to try really hard to take a breath and get through it so that you can get yourself some perspective.
Yeah.
And you're not going to do it beautifully 100% of the time, and that's okay. So that's mine. What you got?
Yeah, I would say that recognizing, like, it's not always, even though they direct it at me, it's not always about me. And my job here is to help support my kiddo. And I get to set limits, and I get to regulate.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so we hope that this was helpful. And for this week, we are hoping that your heart would be full, your hands would be messy, and your kids would be kind. Bye.
Perfect. Bye.
Our music is by Stephen Bedall. If you're loving these conversations, we'd be so grateful if you followed the podcast, left a review, or shared this episode with a friend. That's how we grow this little front porch community. And remember, the days are long,
but the years are short. While we often talk about mental health, this should not be used as a substitute for mental health treatment. If you or your child are struggling, please reach out to a local provider.